Welcome to a special episode of the Restaurant Growth Show. Today, we are sharing our experiences from the recent Collision Conference in Toronto. It was an incredible opportunity to meet with leaders in the tech space, in the restaurant space. There was partnerships that we formed. They're going to help us grow. We're going to help our clients grow. We're going to help our audience grow. We're going to talk about the exciting new technologies we discovered, the important connections we made, and how these can help restaurant owners like you get ahead, grow your business. It's going to be a little bit of a throwback today to the intro. 3, 2, 1, let's grow. Let's go. All right. Well, welcome back to the Restaurant Growth Show podcast. Like I said at the top of the show, Jose and I and our CTO, Madi Tosfin. Shout out to Madi, who never joins us on the show because I think he's a little camera shy, but that's okay. That's what CTOs are for. They take care of all the technical stuff. Dynpricing, our company, visited the Collision Conference in 2024, and we met some incredible people, learned about some new incredible technologies. Obviously, the theme there was artificial intelligence, and we'll dive into all the amazing things that we learned and amazing speakers that we encountered and heard. Jose, what was your takeaway from Collision Conference 2024? Let's hear your opinion.
Well, you know that I'm quite passionate about trade shows and meeting people. Definitely extrovert. It energizes me to be surrounded by people and everybody, or most people, buzzing with ideas, startups, curiosity. It was great, and after a while of not being at a trade show, I was very pumped from the beginning until the end. Less after parties than before, but I would say that, to wrap it up in the answer to your question, AI was the topic, right, center, up, down, you name it. In many ways, but it was also a very sober experience about AI, humbling ways, and it's great. It is the beginning of many things. One of the main things to me was to think about the fact that AI stamped on something doesn't make it AI, or more important, the buzzword is fading out a bit, especially in the investment and technology sectors.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Every single startup we saw there, we had a booth on one of the 3 days, but every single booth that we saw, every single startup that we encountered had .ai or AI worked into the title. Some of it really felt forced. Not Dynpricing, of course. Our technology is built on artificial intelligence and machine learning, but of course we're the exception to the rule. But yeah, it has become this buzz term, and that's not new. It's been a buzz term for months and months now. I really feel as though some companies are relying too much on generative AI. Just because you've got a chat bot, just because you've got some LLM incorporated into your company in some way, shape, or form, that does not necessarily make you an artificial intelligence-driven technology. But I don't want to sit here and badmouth other companies. That's not where I want to go with this whatsoever. That was generally my impression, and I think Jose, you had a similar experience. But of course, getting back to Collision itself, AI was definitely the theme. There were some specific aspects of AI, like security and security vulnerabilities, that have really sort of opened some eyes. So let's start with security and that aspect of the conference and some of the speakers that we heard. I know I saw you really intently watching a couple of these speakers on the security front. What sort of opened your eyes there about AI and security?
That, I think, it may be the hype, but the most important piece, because safe rails in an industry of a technology that even the grandfather of the technology itself, Canadian University of Toronto guru, says that he's not even sure how it made it work, but that the intelligence, it's artificial, and that it's there. So it's more about, like, if it's a system that is self-learning, then how fast will it go? So keeping that in mind, the most important aspect of AI is that security, guardrails for identifying what it is, AI generated or not, what is fake. It's a new fake. It's a new world of tricks and disinformation that we're open up into, and that is probably the most important part about AI that comes out of that. It was a full day and a half where most talks were focused on security, but it was always touched on in every talk.
Yeah, definitely was an aspect of each talk. And then, yeah, like you said, a day and a half fully focused on security and vulnerabilities. So let's put ourselves in our listeners' shoes. We're restaurant operators and we don't know much, if anything, about artificial intelligence and that technology. And now you're talking about security. What can operators do to help protect themselves from vulnerabilities in artificial intelligence and viruses and scams and all of these things? What should they be looking for? What should they do?
Well, on the first hand is to look for, let's say, let's start with personating, for example. If you actually, let me take a couple of steps back, which is a restaurant is not a producer of technology per se. They are usually users and they have people that they work with. So the most important thing at the to make as a restaurant a decision on this type of technology is to check in on who you're working with, and that you trust them, that they have, I mean, to be technical, SOC 2 compliance, and that there's, you know, some accountability there, that there's ways of making sure that there's support, especially because it's something that a normal restaurateur wouldn't understand. That those techie savvies are, of course, they know they are in the world of ChatGPT. They use it daily or often, and they also need to, as much as they understand it, start learning from the get-go. Everybody, something that was missed in, I would say, in most technologies when they come out, most people have, there's always been a gap, right? A knowledge gap, an understanding gap that that doesn't allow people to see what's real or not. And I say that because, to give you an example, we have a saying in that it's where I see a building, an engineer sees tensions and pressures and structures and right and balance and all these different things. So if you don't understand something, you just cannot see it. Some of these things cannot be seen. So in technology, there's always been a gap where there is always a group of people that don't understand, for example, in video, that sometimes videos are chopped in particular cuts that, so, I mean, from you and my point of view, that we do videos and edit and everything, it's really easy to see when there's like really choppy cuts and that something is real or not. So imagine now we have a technology that imitates voices, images, and for now, what they say, we do have an advantage. We have an opportunity to look for those mistakes that AI says do. They make mistakes, and that's just the beginning of understanding what may be fake, what may be real. So that would be the first start, is education, leaning to find out what a deep fake is, and then from there to practice to keep an eye open on what could be real and what could be fake.
What does it mean to be SOC 2 compliant for the non-techies out there?
SOC 2 compliance is so far, or at this point, the highest level of compliance that a technology company must have, which includes privacy of data, some practices that are for high security, and it's a vehicle where the highest levels of security as well, and privacy compliance and everything else is trickling into. So there may be a new one. You know, there's ISOs of all sorts, which have become the standard for many things. But if we look into technology, the SOC 2, as of today, is the one that carries forward the most advanced privacy, compliance, and whatnot.
So it's important, if you're an operator and you are looking to take on a new type of technology, would it be a good idea to ask if that new software is SOC 2 compliant?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to remember SOC 2, SOC 2, to ask a question directly to a technology provider, they may be surprised of how you ask that, but that could open up a conversation about trusting them, and that the technology is robust enough for you to give it a try or to work with them. It has all sorts of practices that also include how you save, manage information, who manages, and what type of information as well.
I think that's really valuable. Thanks for that. Now, switching gears a little bit here, Jose. In such the early days still. It's such an early time for artificial intelligence. I feel like it's the great equalizer. Everyone has now begun to understand artificial intelligence, generative AI, LLMs. We kind of get an idea as to how they work and what they do. All of these new technologies are popping up everywhere, which really essentially, when it boils down to it, everything's just sort of layered on top of GPT, and everyone's got this, innovative chat bot really that is speaks like a human. And is it overhyped? Like, are all of these new solutions overhyped? Is there a bubble that's possibly gonna pop? What is your impression on AI as a whole, really being new to the technology, being new to restaurant especially? Is this overhyped?
One of my favorite sentences, and I kept hearing it over and over, one time quoted by Bill Gates, another time quoted by someone else, not Steve Jobs, but someone. No,
Steve
I
Jobs.
know, but a quote from back in the day that was related to new technologies, and I think it might have been. I couldn't tell you right now what it was, but basically what it said is that technology, or in this case would be AI, is overestimated in the short term, underestimated in the long run. So in the long term. So what this means is that this hype makes it even more of a sense of a bubble that's gonna burst, and that's fine because it always happens. And then many players may go away because being part of that without the foundation, and like you said, then the market over it compensates itself. And what happens is, like, those that with patience kept pursuing the actual technology get through into a world of new possibilities that the was not allowing us to see. And what that how that looks like in the short term is that, like you said, a lot of people are claiming AI on everything. It's basically that one, but with AI, running, but with AI, stamping, but with AI, and that doesn't make it AI. That makes that, like you said, maybe you just have a chatbot that it's literally just ChatGPT in the background doing some kind of function, then you're calling it AI.
It really, that's what I'm really finding is, and I think you feel the same way, is a lot of companies have trained a bot using LLM, using GPT, and just customize it with their verbiage, with their jargon almost, and claiming that this is, some breakthrough in artificial intelligence and technology. And really, my impression is that a lot of these companies and startups are probably going to bust if they're, depending upon this hype to carry them through, because they're really not adding any real value except for, some new attention and, flashy sort of features. And so, but yeah, I agree with you as well. In the long run, what this technology is going to do is going to open up a lot of new possibilities, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg right now. We're just beginning to realize the capabilities. And I can't remember the speaker that we were listening to on the Thursday, and just understanding, posing a problem or a scenario to your business, or a solution to your business, and being able to run through multiple scenarios, kind of like, is it the Avengers? In the Avengers, when they have all of these different realities, and they play out all of these realities, and like, oh, okay, well, one out of 500 trillion scenarios or realities we succeed. But I mean, obviously that's comic books. But what I'm talking about is that we'll be able to play out a lot of different scenarios and understand what could possibly be the outcome of each of these actions that we take so much quicker at scale, and just be able to test different solutions, different problems, different scenarios at such a rate and such a speed that we're going to learn so much faster. And that's what I really enjoy, when I'm using GPT, and when I'm just going through having a brainstorm myself, and I get to go back and forth with GPT, and it's pulling, real-time data and real-time scenarios and expertise that I was not aware of in so many different fields. It's just exponentially more effective and efficient than Googling everything, right? And I think that's the real technology leap here. I don't know. What's your take?
Absolutely. Imagine a Monte Carlo, which is a modeling for predictability of multiple scenarios, but now you can calculate millions of possibilities, including one where there was a random comet coming crashing towards the earth. So the amount of possibilities, now think about genome and stuff, which, by the way, it was the pitch. We'll talk about that in a second. But think about it in terms of like medicine, the amount of calculations that can be done very quickly, the simulations, right, where you will be able to define or get the answer almost with 100% certainty of what is the best solution. That is something that requires a lot of brain cells for many humans and iterations to get to something like that, when with this amount of data that get processed so fast. I mean, the future is looking incredible, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you brought up the genome sequencing technology, which is way out of our field of expertise. But so one of the great aspects of Collision Conference was there was a pitch competition where some startups were selected to compete with one another on stage in front of judges. A really, really fun and a little bit nerve-wracking too, event that took place over the 3 days of Collision. And we're happy to announce that a company by the name of Voxcell, that does 3D bioprinting imitation of natural soft tissue. It helps pharmaceutical companies test new drugs faster. This company, Voxcell, is based out of Victoria. And of course, as are we, we're based out of Victoria. And we do have quite a few mutual connections with the CEO and some of the members of that team. So really, really big shout out to Voxcell for winning the 2024 Collision Conference pitch competition. What a cool technology. They did a great job, and shout out to them. That was fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. What a contribution to the world. And I remember what I was talking about, the gap, right? So mRNA was a huge gap. People couldn't believe that things were going to be doing different, that could be done and get a vaccine that quick. Imagine what's going to happen now. I mean, I think I heard a part of the Dr. Fauci was in this thing, and he was being questioned, and he was like, "How did you were you able to do this in less than 3 days or something?" And it's like, nowadays it only takes like 4 or 6 hours. It can be done in a day, and that's like, okay, you either know or don't know, but the information is there for you to learn it and to start understanding all of these without having to be an expert, but enough to understand that one, you may not be able to perceive certain things, and two, how actually can I start to understand how to perceive these things so that I don't get tricked.
Yeah, exactly. Another quick quote about Voxcell and what they do. These guys are an artificial intelligence company. These guys are using machine learning for important uses. So it's a quick quote here. Voxcell has created the first bioprinted human-like cancer tissue models that drug developers can utilize to directly inject their drug candidates through the blood vessel. This allows Voxcell to identify ineffective drugs much earlier in the process. So again, it comes down to testing and testing quicker and learning quicker. No matter what it is that you're trying to learn or test or run an experiment on, that's the beauty of artificial intelligence and machine learning, is you're able to do those things exponentially faster. What a cool company.
Amazing. I loved it. On that note, one of the things that I really realized, and it makes me proud about Victoria as a university city, is that the pitches of some people that, for example, from Berkeley, needless to say, Stanford, it's that some of their ideas were, and they weren't actually the actual scientists per se, on what they actually started building some of these technology companies. It was because over and over on in conversations with their friends, it opened up to then that curiosity of the entrepreneur, where it's like, what is that? And what if it was this? What could we do with that? What if, and then someone had, but they had access to so much data that they were able to do this really cool, very important, high tech, or go after solving these problems with incredible technology, because they have information and knowledge right there. But then you tap or cross an entrepreneur, someone with the drive and the vision and the passion to build something from nothing, and you get amazing entrepreneurs, young and just full of energy, just to change the world. And I think that's one of the inspirational part of being there.
Yeah, it's a really, really inspirational time. It's such a unique, time in history that we are living in. This is, yeah, I can't really put into words what we're living through right now. We'll only be able to really accurately describe it. So until that point, we're just living in it, and every day is really a unique experience. So just taking this back to, we want to be able to talk about some restaurant innovations and some unique integrations and some companies that are doing some really, really fantastic things for restaurants and restaurant operators. Number one, I want to give a shout out to Heartland POS for the quality of the reporting. We've heard nothing but great things from operators and other technology companies about the advancements they've made utilizing reporting and analytics and integrations that they've developed. Number two, we've mentioned them before, and we are still planning on having, actually, we were planning on having the 7Shifts CEO on the show, but in a couple of weeks, we're actually going to have the head of product from 7Shifts on the show. So we're really looking forward to them. And, we mention them all the time for their use of AI and shift scheduling, but also their ability to incorporate tip management into their software. I heard really, really wonderful things about 7Shifts and their tip management. And last but not least, MarginEdge. They're providing live in real time P&L statements, cost of goods sold, labor expenses. These technologies are really, and these companies are really, really at the forefront for the restaurant industry. Can't recommend them enough. No, they are not sponsors. They're not paying us to say that. We are speaking from experience and from a lot of the professionals that we've and the experts that we've had on the show. These are some really great and useful solutions for restaurants. So do be sure to check out their solutions. Jose, what's your take on those companies?
I think there are powerful solutions that if an operator has not considered, that's what we do in this show. We share them so that it makes it easy for them to consider them. There's many upcoming, Dynpricing being one of them, but I think that it's also exciting that our space, the restaurant space, is also getting some improvements. But I think my favorite part of it is, again, the gap. The restaurateurs being much more aware of technology, of their numbers. And I think a lot of it is because they're just paying attention to the data that's coming out. So they get to appreciate more than before. And that makes it exciting for everyone, because without that feedback, it's harder to actually bring solutions and solve new problems as they come.
Well, this is all the time we have for this episode. I got to say, it's been a while since you and I just did a show on our own. We've been jam-packed with guests and experts and partners coming on the show. So it's a nice little throwback to just, you and I shooting the shit and reflecting on what a fun and inspiring conference the Collision Conference 2024 was in Toronto. We had such an amazing time, and it's really nice to just be able to reflect on things, just the two of us, and share that with our listeners. So again, that's all the time we have for this episode today. This podcast is sponsored by Dynpricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dynpricing uses artificial intelligence for real to improve restaurant profitability by dynamically updating menus across digital channels like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. That's all the time we have for this episode. Until next week, say goodbye, Jose.
Wait, I have a question. ESL question.
Okay.
Is shooting the shit like shooting the shit or shooting at the shit?
It's that is a really great question. So shooting the shit, I don't think has a direct literal translation. Shooting the shit just means just messing around and talking about stuff. And
No, I just did a visual, so I just started imagining myself, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But on that note, keep your eyes open, an open mind, and until the next time, goodbye, Jose.
All right, I gotta pay attention because I use a lot of stupid sayings. I really got to rein those in, and I appreciate you asking a lot of the time what exactly they mean to us North American folk, because a lot of them are just really dumb. And shooting the shit, really, if you think about it, is it's a stupid expression. So I'm gonna try and watch my
research it at least so that you can answer when I ask you.
I mean, just shooting shit just means just messing
Yeah,
around,
exactly.
kind of wasting
Shooting
time
shit.
just talking about bullshit or whatever. Anyways, thanks for that, Jose. Everyone, until next week, we'll see you then.
Goodbye.
All right, good job. That was a good one.